Live and direct. You're tuned in to the Diallo Show, Q4 Radio, AM 1680. Broadcasting live from Chicago. Thanks for tuning in on this February 27th in the year of your Lord, 2017. Got some interesting news and insights and other stuff to get into, so let's jump in with both feet. Thanks for tuning in, Diallo Show. All right, it is the Diallo Show. Man, let me tell you something. Professor Mackey, rest in peace, said that his grandmother, who grew up in the deep segregated South, whose own parents were in chattel slavery, stated that she would always say, "The bugger got no shame," in reference to the dominant caste, the ruling caste, the racial oligarchical caste, white folks. That they just got no shame. The bugger got no shame. And I heard him say that way back in maybe like 1998, maybe even 97. And that just plays in my head day after day after day after day. The bugger got no shame. Now, do you really, did the Oscars really pull a Miss America pageant type thing? I didn't watch the Oscars. I'm not really into award shows for pimps and hoes and every other hypocrite to show off their clothes, as KRS said. I'm just not a fan. I don't like award shows and pageants and things of that nature. But of course, I live in R-wave saturated America, where information comes at us through billboards and devices in our pockets, and every direction you look in, you're getting empty, useless information. And so, of course, what am I going to do is come on my show and, carry forward the empty, useless information. But apparently, they had announced La La Land had won Best Picture for 2 minutes. La La Land was the best picture from 2016, the previous year of your Lord. And then it turns out Moonlighting, which was such Oscar bait, such, heart-tugging. Now, I haven't seen the movie, so I don't have the facts to back this up, but I've heard through the grapevine there was a movie about a street gangster, hustler, killer thug who took a young gay black man under his arm, and they marched on down the Yellow Brick Road to an Oscar. I don't know, something like that. That's the basic story. But, I hadn't heard nothing from or about the Miss America pageant for decades. I don't think since that sister with the green eyes who posed in Playboy, who had to give up her, I don't know what they give her, a tiara and a sash, she had posed. Now, I can't even remember her name, but, have to tell her, sister, you can't pose in nudie magazines and be Miss America. Now, you can pose in nudie magazines and be First Lady, if you white. If you white. Who knows? I mean, the sky's the limit if you white, because, like they said, like Professor William Mackey, Grandma said, the bugger's got no shame. The bugger got no shame. But anyway, I don't know nothing about no Miss America pageant. But when Steve, King of the Coon Harvey, got up and called out the wrong woman, and then had to, back it on up, had to unbutton his zoot suit and loosen his tie because of the discomfort. Vanessa Williams, thanks, King Dita. King Dita is sending vibrational frequencies, even though he's not here in his official co-host position. It's Vanessa Williams, yes. I hadn't thought nothing or heard nothing about Miss America until Steve King of the Coon Harvey. And I don't know. Steve Harvey is currently King of the Coons. But I'm hearing rumblings that Bill Cosby's about to get off. And all the black Puritans, Afro-sexists, mommy issue militants, all these nationalists are ready to embrace the martyr of the struggle. Are ready to embrace the black man who so frightened the white elites, the Jews who run Hollywood, who else is out there? Reptilian overlords. Bill Cosby so pissed off and frightened these people that they had to concoct a conspiracy to bring Cosby down. Now, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but I'm already in here. What's the point? But I'll get back to Miss America and the Oscars biting off of Miss America and the shamelessness of these buggers. But yeah, that's another thing. I mean, Bill Cosby. Well, Steve Harvey, king of the coons, but he filled in the void left by Cosby. But Cosby might just come back for his throne and get back to telling us just naked lies. Y'all don't remember when Bill Cosby said, number one, the first part of that lie is he said he was in an inner city grocery store. Bitch, where? Bill Cosby ain't bought no groceries since at least, 63? Maybe 1960? Number one. And then an inner city grocery store? Right. And then he said he saw all these single mothers and their horrible, unruly children just ripping up. And he said that one of these children was in his mother's face, a little black child in a poor black community with a single black mother. I don't know how you know the woman business. Lord knows my wife don't always have her ring on. And my wife, here's another rabbit hole, another detour. My wife would sometimes go out with our children, and she wouldn't have on her wedding band, have on, my stamp of approval, that she had made herself worthy enough to get the attentions and maintain the attentions of the elusive woodland creature called the black man, the black husband and father. This woodland creature that is so elusive and hard to capture and even hard to contain once you capture him. And she said she could see when she was out, especially when our children was younger, when our younger son was a baby, and and she's out, hustling and grinding and running around with these children. And we always been either a no family car or one family car. We've never had two cars. We've never been all the way to the American dream. But she would tell me she would notice how people would look at her and treat her differently when she was out and she appeared as a single mother, as an adult black or grown black woman with her kids out taking care of, minding her own business, and the look she would get from people. And that's foul. And it's not because you mistake. What if she was a single mother? Man, let me tell you. What's wrong with people? But that's a whole nother thing. I can't get into that, but that's something. I'm going to put a pin in that. I'm going to note that. I'm sorry, I just have to write that down. Because we got to talk about this nonsense about parenting. And because, the white man, when we were in the slave shacks, picking cotton, baling hay. And then I'm sick of the picking cotton, because black African people, we were blacksmithing. We were doing architecture and engineering while we were in chattel slavery. We didn't just pick cotton. We built this nation. And it's nothing. I hate that we brag about that, though. That's nothing to brag about. Building up Babylon. But anyway, under duress, against our will. It's really nothing to be proud of. But anyway. It makes good rhetoric when we're trying to get our reparations, perhaps. Anyway, let me get back on track. Bill Cosby is getting some favorable judgments as they walk down the trial. And I'm not going to get into that. Maybe I'll dedicate a whole show to that scumbag, rapist. I think he is a rapist. I forgive me. I believe his accusers. But anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. But anyway, he might get out and retake his crown as king of the coons. And all these black nationalists, militant black nationalists, are so ready to embrace this martyr. So ready to embrace this man who was... And I always asked him, exactly how was Bill Cosby a threat to white folks? What exactly did white people want to do with their agenda, their status, their power, their resources? What exactly did Bill Cosby threaten? All I've ever saw Bill Cosby do throughout his career is validate white power. I would think that white folks would be more upset about him being taken down than us, because he was doing more to validate their system than he was to help us come against. But I don't know. It's strange bedfellows. But I guess, the black nationalists, these militant black nationalists, if an Uncle Tom, attacks the right vulnerable populations, then he's in automatic inroads. But I mean, if Trump can unite Nazis and Zionists, then, anything is possible. But anyway, Steve Harvey is the acting chairman of the Coon delegation. King of the Coons right now. Well paid, in our media faces, always got a good smile and a chuckle and that shoulder roll they like to do, that shoulder humping that they like to do. Whenever a whitey is in trouble. Paula Deen having slavery luncheons, having black folks dress up like slaves in the antebellum South while she serves her artery-clogging food to her guests, and being real loose with what they call the N-word. Now, Dick Gregory said, we need to stop using the N-word. We need to go on and say it, nigga or nigger, because it's their shame. And why we helping them hide their shame? They made it up. It's their word. They say it. No, Paul Mooney said, we say it, y'all think it, small white world. So he doesn't like the N-word. He said the N is what? He said the 24th letter of that? Don't quote me on this, my fact checkers. But whatever. He said that's like the 20... What is it? I'm about to go through the alphabet. I got out the 3rd grade, so I certifiably know my alphabet. I don't need to prove nothing to y'all. The N-word is in the alphabet. It ain't got nothing to do. It don't mean nothing. So Paula Deen was calling black folks niggers. Not even niggas, but niggers. And got busted calling us niggers. Because that means they all say it. So she got busted. But here comes Steve Harvey. Not only did he bring her on the show to give her heartfelt apology, and he gave her a job catering. Steve Harvey has this mentoring program where it's horrible, where he brings only black children who are, I'm not even going to break down his ridiculous little charity program. It's ridiculous. But I mean, and it's only available to single mothers again. See, my wife, she could have, snuck in there. Sister can't even go out. I mean, and imagine what it's like for single mothers. If married women out with their children, that's a black woman, getting sneers. And this is something, I was pretty much oblivious to. Even though I was raised by a single mother. But I was raised in it was kind of like a single mother utopia colony where, and nobody had a daddy home. So I didn't notice it. But anyway. And I don't think in the 80s it was as bad. But again, I was a kid, so I'm not sure. But maybe it just wasn't as bad in the 80s. But now, black folks in the Obama era, we've been the president. We've been all up in the White House. We've got more and more black billionaires, so now we can officially act like white folks. And the whole nuclear family, Judeo-Christian setup that they invented, that they pulled out of their rectum. Now we're acting like it's gospel. But anyway, I'll come back to that. Steve Harvey, King of the Coons, revived the Miss America pageant and made people care and talk about this thing that nobody cared about, except Trump, when he's walking into the dressing rooms of the pageant. When the ladies are disrobed. Besides him, nobody cared about the Miss America pageant. Then he did this faux pas, and everybody's talking about it. So last year, remember, and y'all so forgiving. Y'all black folks, man, let me tell you something. The reason we got so many sellouts, Uncle Tom scallywops, is because we are just too forgiving. So I could leave here today and be like, yeah, I'll take a check from the government to do some selling out. I could be an agent, like Al Sharpton. I can help to discredit Malcolm X or Khalid Muhammad and attack these people as they're out working for our people. I can do anything. I can collect over $500,000 from black folks, almost $500,000 from black folks scraping together their little pennies because they believe in my obscene dream. And then when they only give me $500,000 instead of the $1 million I asked for, I get on this microphone and call them trifling. I could do anything, and black folks are so forgiving. So I don't know why we so forgiving. But again, another rabbit hole. It's Monday morning. I got a little, my organic green tea. I'm a little hyped. So if I go off on tangents, just, pray for me, y'all. Only to God it says, I don't want nobody praying for me on behalf of these weirdo male gods. And they're all male angel army. They're scantily clad male angels. Even when you want to, rape someone's a virgin, a married virgin, you can't even bring yourself to touch her. You have to send the, I don't know, artificial insemination, like the angel, what was it, Gabriel took God's semen and then, transmogrified. That's some high science. That's how you know God is real, because he was doing technology that we didn't discover. Artificial insemination, that's from the 80s? God was doing it way back in the olden days, in the year zero. So that's how you know God is real. And I know what's funny to me, I said the angel Gabriel took God's semen and impregnated, and while God had to turn away and hide in some corner of the universe because it was so icky to touch a girl. But people will get on and debate me and say that wasn't the angel Gabriel. And they will want to debate me about which of his heavenly hosts actually were assigned that job of having to touch an icky woman. That cracks me up. So a lot of times when I'm recounting biblical fiction, mythology, folklore, I mistakenly say the wrong thing. Like one time I said when Satan rebelled in heaven, 50% of the angels joined in the rebellion against God. And I just said that to point out that no other tyrant in our history, Genghis Khan, King Louis V, no other tyrant in history, Barack Obama, has ever been so bad that 50% of the population, even Trump, Cheetolini they call him, even Trump has not provoked 50% of the population that he governs to rise up against him. I'm like, so how bad of a... And then not only that, God was ruling over paradise. He wasn't even ruling over a market-based economy. He was ruling over a paradise where everything you wanted was at your beck and call. And even then, people were like, I can't stand this. God, I don't like living under God's regime. And 50% of the people rose up. And people wanted to debate me. It's like, it wasn't 50% of the heavenly host. It was only 25%. So I'm like, yeah, I like to mess up the Bible just to see people who believe in God. But then everything after God, they want verification and strict recounting. And they want evidence. Everything after God. Then they're ready to talk about proof and validation and strict specific numbers and locales. After God. But before God, I'm willing to just, hey, what's this evidence things you speak of? God is real in my heart. I believe him. I hear him in my own head bouncing around. But then, so I'm like, if the fundamental fabric of reality, you're able to accept something totally, not only something that hasn't been validated, but everything we see in our research goes against what you believe. If you're willing to accept that, then I'm not giving you any other proof. I'm not giving you proof for nothing. I'm not even going to prove my name to you. I'm not even showing you my ID until you go back to until you're willing to say, I want to have an evidence-based assessment or evidence-based understanding of reality itself, of existence itself. Then don't come and ask me evidence for some little obscure historical fact that I'm trying to rest my argument on. Either you're evidence-based or you're not. You can't be evidence on some things and evidence on nothing. If my wife was a Christian and I came home last night, late at night, smelling of various perfumes and alcohols, and she's like, where was you? I want to know. I'm like, hey, you believe in God? Go question your creator. And then if you can't get evidence from your creator, how dare you ask of evidence of a mere mortal? Now, I don't drink. And I don't come home smelling of various perfumes. But I'm just saying this is a poor example. But since I don't live that life, I like to give examples about the life I don't live because it's just more exciting for me. I'm a middle-aged father of two with a sick old dog. Let me live a little. So, where was I? Okay. Anyway, Steve Harvey. I got to stop drinking this green tea on an empty stomach. Steve Harvey did this faux pas, and it got everybody talking about the the Miss America pageant for weeks and months, and there were memes, there were late night comedy show reenactments. It blew up, and then they called him back and was like, signed him up for another couple of years to host the pageant. So then the Oscars, which is supposed to be this bastion of creativity, gonna go and do the same thing. And not what's worse than the Oscars doing the same thing, the bugger got no shame, is that we falling for it. Y'all gonna really act like that was, oh, look at this mistake we're made. You know what I'm gonna do? Next week, I'm gonna announce the show, Welcome to Band Nation Radio. I'm like, oh, sorry. After 2 minutes of doing Band Nation programming, I'm gonna be like, oh, this isn't Band Nation. This is actually the Bro Diallo Show. And then y'all gonna go out and create memes and like, oh, you won't believe this crazy mistake that Bro Diallo made. He didn't even name his show right. And then y'all create memes and y'all go and spread. And I'll have like 1 million listeners. Cause it's worse that we fall for the okie doke than other people implementing the okie doke. I don't know. That's my Oscar covers. That's all I know about the Oscars. And I just read that somewhere this morning. And I hope it's true because I didn't verify it. I just have faith that it was true. And if you can have faith about the origins of reality, then I can have faith about that. They announced the wrong Best Picture, La La Land, apparently, which I never even heard of La La Land. I had heard about Moonlight. Now, I saw some of the imaging of Moonlight, and it looked amazing. You know, what do you call it? Cinematography looks awesome. And now we got our first Muslim Oscar winner. I don't know how they know that. Is there like a religious test? I don't know who the Oscar winners are. But the first Muslim winner of, Allah must be proud. Muhammad must be doing the running man in paradise. Who knows? I don't know what that means. So for every 6 million Muslims they bomb and kill, one Muslim gets an Oscar. I don't know. What's the ratio? I don't know why that's relevant. And then how many Christians, how many Buddhists, how many atheists? But I guess it's the first, a lot of first. He wasn't the first black. I think Sidney Poitier was the first man. But anyway, it's kind of curious. Now he's a Muslim, and then he did a pro-gay, And what's pro-gay? I guess you're pro-gay if you acknowledge the humanity of gay people, you're pro-gay. I've been called pro-homosexual. But then it gets balanced out because I also get called a homophobe a lot too. So it balances out. So I'm counseling. I'm neutral. I'm sweetened. On the issue of LGBTQI, I guess I'm sweetened. Because every time a gay person's like, right on, man. Thanks for your position. And then I got a black Puritan telling me I'm a burn in hell, or I'm an Uncle Tom, or I'm not a real Pan-African, because homosexuality is anti-African. And then I have somebody else come and tell me that how dare you question or, demean the gay rights movement. And because of my very strong standing, ongoing critiques of the gay rights movement, and the policies that they're implementing that I'm against. Like support means it's got to be unquestioning and uncritical. And I'm not even unquestioning and uncritical of my spouse. So I mean everybody getting questioned. Everybody's getting a critical side eye from me. I don't care. Even if I support it. In fact, the stuff that I support, I'm more critical of than the stuff I'm indifferent to. I would probably even say not even the stuff I'm indifferent to. I'm more critical of stuff that I'm for than stuff I'm against, because I gotta wear that. So you go in your underwear drawer, you gonna be worried about other people's underwear and not inspect your own drawers? I don't trust people like that. You worried about the content of my drawers, and your drawers is all stained and smelly. You got a little bundle of flies around your crotch. So I'm not saying don't check other people's underwear, but at least your underwear need to be thoroughly checked. You need to be more aggressive about your underwear drawer and your sock drawer than the next man. That's all I'm saying. That's all. So if I believe something, then I'm more critical of it. But anyway, this guy, now Islam is anti-homosexual. Christianity is anti-homosexual. Judaism is anti. All of the Abrahamic religions are anti-gay. But thank God, God is fiction. And thank God that the dogmas are not only man-written, but man-editable. So now we can have pro-gay Christian. We can even have gay Christian churches. And we can have pro-gay Muslims. And we can have pride parades down the streets of Jerusalem and the occupied nation of Palestine. You know, you can have all this stuff going on because it's not real. So you can edit it, you know. But it's not just, gays, don't feel bad. Don't roll your eyes or snap your fingers or whatever stereotypical stuff that y'all do now. I think the snapping fingers in a circle, that's old. But whatever y'all do to show your disdain, don't get mad. Because it's also anti-women. All the anti-Abrahamic religions are anti-women. And I know people, we got women priests, and good, thank God it's fake, but there's a lot of people whom we call dogmatic who do not want to let go of the old ways. You know, they just like the people who say make America great again. You know, there's people who want to make Islam, Christianity, and Judaism great again. And by great again, we mean by its old, repressive, regressive, enslaving, murderous, imperialist origins. And don't want all this fluffy liberalism. That was the funny thing about the You Name It challenge. Because people, and then they pick and choose. Remember, Shirley said, you name it. Greens, beans, potato, high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity. You name it. That lady, remember her? She was like, saw everybody twerking and making it drop and throwing that ass in a circle to that You Name It challenge. And she came out and said, I'm really happy that people are appreciating my music and my talent. And the main reason I like that is because I sing for the Lord. And I want people to come to the Lord. And if people can be entertained by my music and by my talents, and that will open them up to the blessings of the Lord, then that's all good. But then she was like, but I don't like all this booty-centric dancing. I don't like this twerking and young ladies showing their thigh meat and all that, because my God, who hates women, says that that's unclean. Your very form is sinful. Now you done already brought sin into the world, eating from the tree of knowledge and corrupted man, and now you want to corrupt us further by twerking and showing thigh meat. She said that. And I'm like, okay, she's a conservative Christian. But then how is she, what is she, a minister, pastor, reverend? So you're not going to obey because, yes, you're not even supposed to be speaking in church, let alone preaching in church. So I don't understand. Like, if you want to hold to the whole women cover, women be chaste, women be the property of your fathers until he sells you to a man, and then be dutiful property of your husband, if that's how you get down, then what are you doing being a minister? So right after you take these twerking girls out with the thigh meat showing and take them out to the square and burn them, and then somebody's going to have to tie you to a stake and burn you, because you're also violating the tenets of your insecure, misogynistic God. But anyway, I guess until Allah, God, or Yahweh send down a lightning bolt, it's all open and fair game. So a Muslim man can make a pro-gay movie and win an Oscar from an infidel nation and still be, we all celebrate that he's the first Muslim. Yeah, I don't understand it. And I'm not even saying, look, I'm a progressive. I'm for that stuff. But I don't understand who people, because I'm not a Muslim. I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Jew. I'm not a patriot. There's a lot of things that I'm not. So I get to dance around and non-hypocritically celebrate things. Like, go on, brother. Do your thing. Do your thing. Make your gay, pro-gay movie, homie. Get that Oscar. Get that paper, homie. Because I don't hold to any ideologies that contradicts. I'm anti-capitalism. But so, you know. So the things that I stand for don't allow me. But if you claim to be a Muslim, and you claim that God is real, and you claim that the Prophet Muhammad is his, I'm just saying everybody's just, and I know this stuff can be remixed. Now, I acknowledge that. I know it's not. So is this like a nod from the believers to say, yo, we know this stuff ain't real? I know it's just, when God talks to me, I know it's just me talking to myself. See, I can stop talking now and there will be words cycling in my head. Watch, let's do an experiment. Let's all, right in our minds right now, let's just say something to ourselves. I know what I'm going to say. Okay, I just stopped talking, but there were still communications. What I thought in my head, what the message that I received in my head is that Justin's vegan organic peanut butter cups are the best. And that's a message. I didn't say it. I didn't even think it. I just stopped and just whatever was in there. Now that's a message from God. Okay, now I just got another message from God. I'm not even going to share that one because I don't. But I'm just saying, when you do that, it's you talking to yourself. Those are your own synapses are still firing. That's your own neurochemical soup that's in the cranium of your head still churning, even though you're not talking. That's the voice of God. Now, of course, it's not strictly just your voice, because you have influences and experiences and memories and emotions. So there's a lot going on. I mean, people are really complex because we evolved in such a way, that it's not strictly your pure thoughts. Your thoughts are heavily influenced, but it's nothing supernatural. Even if you look at a star and you're in awe of a star, it's not so much just the greatness of the star. It's also your own ability to perceive and appreciate and value the star. Whereas some might look upon a star and just a bright light in the sky, where another person will see a celestial body of magnificence and evidence of divine, and there are all oneness in creation and all that. But whatever it is, however you perceive a star, a big ball of gas that will disintegrate you if you got close to it, or some evidence of great interconnectedness of the universe, it's all coming for you, the value that you determine. And then the person who says, just a big ball of deadly gas, they might change their opinion throughout their life, based on their experience and interactions with other people, and you might change your experience for the same reasons. But it's us. And I think we should worship each other, because to me, people are just amazing and magnificent. Really amazing. I mean, just the things that we've done, and I don't know, just imagine if we had reverence, which many of these holy books tell us to. Imagine if the reverence and awe and appreciation and praise and love that we had for God, we had for other people. Because everything you appreciate about the world, your very existence is a product of other people. Your education, your understanding, your ability to survive and thrive and navigate the world is all a part. We got people toiling away in polluted slums in China so that I can broadcast this show. We got other people toiling away in Honduras, in Haiti, so that I can be warm and comfortable and look fly in my clothing as I do this show. So I'm in awe of all those people. And instead of trying to serve the Lord, why not just serve everybody else? I mean, the Matuna tear, Ra'un Nefer Amen kind of touches on that, where he kind of says God is actually all people together. And so when we're dispersed, we weaken God, we dilute God. But when we start to work with other people, coordinate, vibe, build, honor, have empathy for other people, then we're manifesting God. And as we are separate from other people, we are rendering God moot. And so that's kind of like, I'm just thinking, if all these, you look at all these cathedrals and temples and mosques and synagogues, imagine if that brick, that stone, that architecture, that work was put into building shelter for people. All of it. Not one house for God. God lives on the moon, on the dark side of the moon. He don't need your building. And let's say, okay, well, we need somewhere to worship. Let's just go to everyone's houses. Every week's a different house. And everybody bring food, and if they need a water heater, bring a little something on the heat bill. Don't go to the church. Don't go to the central area. Just go to a different house. And everybody that's in this congregation knows, well, once every 3 months, I'm going to get like a $30,000 because everybody's going to come to my house to worship, and they're going to leave their tithes here. It's like a susu. which is in the blueprint of a way of building economic power. So if you're renting, after a couple of services at your house, you have a down payment on a house. And y'all can just worship from house to house. And God's told your asses, you believers, that wherever you are gathered in my name, I am there among you. Again, another misquote. Challenge me, fight me, argue, debate me about your folklore, mythology. So why do you need these mega churches? And I hate driving through the hood. I mean, why do you need that? If you were really about the work of the Lord, the only time Jesus went into a church was to whoop some ass. The money changers. Now, I'm sorry. I didn't mean, this isn't even the topic for the day. And then I'm not going to really even share the topic. But maybe to impose some discipline on myself. Maybe as soon as I get on the mic, I'll be like, yo, this is the topic for today. And then you can judge whether or not I'm on task. I'll start that Wednesday. I'll announce straight up while the theme music is playing. This is my intended topic that I have notes for. I will announce it. And then when I'm talking about, how Christians should run and Muslims and Jews should run their houses of worship, when I get on that, you'll be like, yo, he ain't even supposed to be talking about that. What the hell? Because I definitely can't keep myself upon task. So we'll try that Wednesday. And I'll announce the intended topic. During the intro music. And then y'all can let me know. But anyway, let me get back to telling y'all believers how to run y'all lives. Because guess what? Y'all always telling us non-believers how we should live, what we're doing wrong, how we sinning and falling short of the glory of God, how we're engaged in infidelic or haram. So let me tell y'all, if y'all really believe, but I don't think believers really believe. I don't. Because I just could see. I guess maybe that's me. Y'all better be thankful. I'm a heathen. Because I don't know how to do anything halfway. Because if I was a Christian, I'd be a fundamentalist. If I was a Muslim, I'd be a fundamentalist. If I was a Jew, I'd be a bloodthirsty Zionist. Because, if I really believe, number one, my life is just a speck of dust. It's just nothing. I was born in sin. I'm a wretched sinner. And there's no redemption or hope for me besides this big monster in the sky, this big invincible sky monster. And then I might live on this earth, maybe 100 years if I'm lucky, but more like 60, 50 years. Or if I'm truly a believer, I'm praying over unhealthy food thinking that makes it healthy. So I might just, get out of here at 50. And my foot, diabetes, sugar diabetes probably going to take my foot before I even go. I have to meet my foot in heaven. Because I'm sitting over a pork chop saying, God bless this pork chop. Or I'm a Muslim sitting over this mercury-infused fish telling God to bless this mercury-infused fish. Or I'm eating some gefilte fish, mercury-infused. If I'm Jewish, I'm just eating some unhealthy stuff. And I think my prayers somehow affect the molecular structure of this thing when it doesn't. So anyway, I'm not going to live a long life. But if I live according to this nonsense in this here book, then I'm going to have for after this an infinite amount of time in paradise. Infinite amount of time. I would be on some, I'd be on some fundamentalist, crazed, fanatic stuff. I'd be like, let's get through this. Let me show you just how hard in the paint I'm willing to go for you, God. And let me do. So what if I die? And so what if I take everybody with me? Then let's all go on to judgment together. How can you arrive at any other conclusion if you're a true believer? I don't understand. I understand the fundamentalists. I don't understand the Christian moderates, the Islamic liberals, the secular Jews. Those are the ones. I understand the Zionists shooting little Palestinian kids in the head. I understand that because that's more consistent with the teachings. I understand the Christians who run up and shoot abortion doctors. Those Christian boys who Matthew Shepard, who lynched and murdered Matthew Shepard. I understand that. The Muslims, I ain't do it because we're in the West. We know a little bit less. We know a lot of bit less about what the Christians and Jewish terrorists and fundamentalists. I ain't even got to give example about the stuff Muslims do in the name of Allah. But I guarantee you and promise you, Christians get up to as much dirt in the name of Jesus. And Jews get up to as much dirt in the name of Moses and Yahweh as Muslims do. And if you lived in Iran, if you lived in Afghanistan, if you lived in northern Pakistan, if you lived in Turkey, you would have as much understanding about Christian terrorism and Jewish terrorism as we have in the West about Islamic terrorism. But they all do it. And not only that, there's Buddhist terrorism and Buddhist lynchings and Buddhist human rights in the name of Buddha and in the name of the many Hindu gods. So, but that's the foregone conclusion. Because when you're looking at the flesh and bone, or I think Karras one put it very, he said people have more respect for a holy book than you do for a cow on a meat hook. When the immaterial takes precedent over the material, then you will begin to commit atrocity. Because number one, step one, give value to the higher over the unreal to the real, over the unseen against the seen. So I can look at people every day, interact with people every day, and everything in my mind, every person I look at, I'm thinking there's something higher than you, something above you, something that's greater than you, something that you should be submitting to that more likely than not you're not properly submitting to. So not only do you look down on everybody outside of your kingdom hall, outside of your temple, you look down on everybody outside, but then you start to look at the people in your temple because you all fall short of the glory of God. So that's the step one. Valuing something that isn't real over the things that you see are real. Step one. Step two. Passing judgment on that. This person's going to burn in hell. I've had my own family members who wiped my behind, changed my diaper, kept me alive. Kept me in school, made sure I drank my milk, and told me to stay off drugs. People who really cared for me and nurtured me, and then they turn around and be like, you're going to hell. You're going to burn for all eternity. Weeping and wailing and moaning and gnashing of teeth. Demons will rape you and worms will eat your skin. And I'm like, you can't live with those contradictions. If you're thinking that about people, eventually you're going to, and then, evil, unclean. Not to say that I am extremely pious. If I had the delusions of God, I'd be because I don't drink. I don't do, like my older brother tell me, man, you're just a boring dude. I don't think I'm boring. I think my life is wonderful. But for the most part, if I really adhere, I could be a pretty good Jew. I could be a pretty good Christian. I could be a really, really good Muslim. I like to read, so I'll read the crazy books, bumping my head on the floor. In a mosque somewhere with my shoes on. I can get with that. I like people. I like to socialize. I've got a lot of things that I'm into. I could probably integrate my life into a religious community. But you people will say, look at me and be like, it's something wrong with you. Like, no, you don't eat of the swine. No, you don't drink. No, you don't, womanize and do all these unclean, have these impure thoughts. But have you accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? Do you acknowledge that Allah is God, the one true God, and Prophet Muhammad is his only? Because they always put that caveat. So what you're going to do is start to pass judgment on people. So as you go on this natural progression, even if you're a good person who believes delusional stuff, you're going to eventually get to, and some people stop at just being, look at this sinner, look at this no good infidel, and they stop there. But some people keep it real. Some people are not just going to stop at some level. Some people are going to take it to its foregone conclusion. Burn them at the stake. Bomb them, burn them, kill them. They're demonic. They're evil. My child is possessed by a demon. They're going to take it to the foregone conclusion. I have to look up who said this quote because I quote it too much to not know who said it. There's a saying that says, if you can get people to believe in absurdities, you can get them to commit atrocities. And you look at most of the people throughout history who have committed atrocities. And it's not just religious people who commit atrocity. There are some secular individuals who commit atrocity. But the difference between a secular tyrant and a religious tyrant is that the secular tyrant is all on their shoulders. They can't say God told me or nothing. It's like, look, I sat down and decided to do this. For whatever reason, it's because of what I think. Whereas a religious tyrant will be like, not only did I'm not responsible because it came from on high, you can't judge me because it came from on high. What I did is not even wrong because it is blessed from on high. And nobody can go to the door on high and knock and say, hello, on high, did you sanction this? Whereas when the secular person does some dirt, it's all on them. And that's why secular people do less dirt. But if you can get people to believe absurdities, you can get them to commit atrocities. You will not find any worldwide atrocity, any grand massacre, any mass suicide that is not based on people believing something that is utter nonsense. I would like to see where someone has done a great horrendous act, or a group of people have done some great horrendous act, and then when you sit them down and talk to them or investigate what they believed, what is written down is rational, based in fact, research, peer review, and all that. There will always be the master race. God told me demons everywhere, purge this nation. It's always based on some mythology. And so the people who create the infrastructure of religion, the humble people that go and pay my little tithe, I show up and volunteer at my church and pass out turkeys. I come in and mop and shellac the floor so everything's nice for Sunday. I put out the announcements and the pamphlets. I just usher people in. I ain't killing nobody. You create the infrastructure. It's kind of like this whack hip-hop that's coming out. It ain't just the whack, what they call mumble rappers. It's the studio engineer. It's the guy, whoever's paying the electric bill. You know, it's everybody. It's people you never see or heard of that are part of allowing this ultimate thing to happen. So the good, moderate people, and I'm not the only one to say that. There are gray-haired white men with degrees, letters after their names, and tweed sport coats with the patches on the elbow who have said this before me. Said that the moderate Christians, that the moderate Muslims, and the moderate liberal progressive Jews are the ones who create the infrastructure and sustain the platform to which the crazies use to stand on and jump off of. So you can't say, that's not a real Christian. Oh, yes, it is. They've got more biblical justification for killing those people than you have biblical justification for being liberal and accepting of people who have different views. And that's why I don't know why people don't just get outed. I know why, because you think you're going to burn in hell for all eternity. But guess what? You know, can you imagine how lame heaven, paradise? I mean, the only heaven that I would even want to go to is the Mormon heaven. I mean, you've heard me say this before. I do a lot of time, you know, assessing and grading the afterlife of various religious sects. And to this day, nobody has come out with a greater afterlife than the Mormons. And yes, it's an absurd religion. It's just like all the rest. It's absurd on the surface. But, man, if you die a Mormon, you get your own planet to rule over as a god. Not only do you get your own planet, it's not like you just like Donald Trump in your own planet, like you're just a mortal ruler of your own planet. In the Mormon afterlife, you get omnipotent power. In fact, some Mormons speculate that planet Earth is a Mormon heaven of some other dedicated Mormon from some other part of the universe. I BS you not. Which makes more sense than you know, most other concepts of God, because I mean the kind of God that people write down in these holy books seems like the kind of asshole who would have been a Mormon in life and then became omnipotent and got his own planet. That's the kind of a jerk that God acts like sometimes, all the time, or at least his followers do. But anyway, and all that. Now I know you're asking yourself, what does that got to do with the Oscars? Everything. All things are connected. Now, my spiritualist people, and what's spirituality? It's religion for lazy people. The good thing about the spiritualists, see, I don't respect spiritualists because I respect the dogmatic people more than the spiritualists, and here's why. You can't tie down spiritual people. You know, don't think they're doing all this smoke, burning incense, and putting on these herbal patchouli oils because they want to be. They're doing that because they're slippery. It's symbolic of their thing. They're like trying to smoke, or you grabbing their little slippery wet, because you know they don't. They only eat. They're a lot of times they're vegan and stuff. You can't grab them. They're real slender and slippery. They slip through your fingers. So you try to hold them to some rational thought. Like, we need to arm ourselves to defend our communities because we don't get proper police representation. No, I'm spiritualist. I don't believe in violence. I'm like, but you have a phone in your hand that has mercury and coltan and cadmium and bauxite and silicate that was mined through violence in the Congo. Well, see, that's the thing. My frequency is... So you can't really hold them. Like, are you for violence or not? Because if you're anti-violence, you would have to strip butt naked, get rid of all your devices, and levitate. You can't even touch the soil of the earth because everything is produced and sustained through violence in this world under capitalism. So you either have to fight it or you with it. And neutrality in the face of evil means you're on the side of evil. So I'm willing to profit from violence and allow violence to sustain my lifestyle, but I'm not willing to engage in violence to bring justice. And when you try to talk that with a spiritual person, they'll just 1 minute when you say, hey, let's fight, let's struggle, let's organize. No, what we have to do is align our frequencies. But then when you explain to them how their lifestyle and their ability to sit on these beautiful hardwood floors and these beautiful temples and have all these resources, they're little incense that are made in a sweatshop in India by children, malnourished children, then they'll find some other way to maneuver. You just can't lock them down. So that's why I say spirituality is religion for lazy people, because if you're truly spiritual, air quote, and you truly valued your own humanity other, I think the biggest spiritualists are revolutionaries. If you're not a dyed-in-the-wool, hardcore revolutionary struggling on behalf of people to rebalance the world, what the hell are you talking about? You rebalancing your chakras when the earth is out of balance. The very thing you depend on to sustain your life is out of balance. So how you gonna be balanced when the earth ain't balanced? So if you're not meditating on better ways to organize and struggle on the ground, flesh and bone, soil, water, sunlight, if your spirituality is not telling you, okay, when you sit down and meditate, it doesn't say, hey, organize for global revolution. If that's not the conclusion that you're coming to, then you're not truly spiritual. And you should only have to do that like once. You shouldn't have to do it 5 times a day. And yeah, do your yoga for fitness. It's like, why are you doing yoga? It's for better connect. No, I'm doing yoga so I can be flexible. I might end up in prison. I might have to fight in these streets. Who knows what comes up? I got to be hip fit to fight. They might try to assassinate me. I might have to run in a protest. Don't tell them what might have to go down. So I do this yoga so I'm war ready. I stay ready so I don't have to get ready. But if you say, I'm doing yoga because it says, man, that spirituality is religion for lazy people. And I'm sorry. Somebody has to say it. So don't think, and I know there's a lot of spiritual people that heard me talk all this stuff about formal, especially Western religions, and then take my little jab at Hinduism and take my little jab at Buddhism, and they're like, see, that's why. But nah, the spiritual people are just as bad. And you don't want to think, if you ain't seen superior arrogance, you think Christians can look down on sinners? You think Muslims can look down on infidels? You think Jews can look down on the Goyim? You ain't been looked down upon until you done walked up on a brother draped in crystals and copper. Now they look down on all the rest of us low vibration, uncultivated savages, primates. You ain't been looked down upon until you've been looked down upon by a spiritual person who's supposed to be so elevated. I'm telling y'all, and I know I am a devangelist and an anti-theist. It's not just enough for me to say, hey, I don't buy that stuff. I know I'm not going to let people who are adopting these age-old toxic ways of relating to the world and each other go by, because he's like, oh, you just have to respect. I don't have to respect your beliefs. If I could go to a skinhead and the skinhead says, I believe that white skin makes me superior, based on what? I mean, that's crazy. And then I just saw you over there putting on a ton of sunscreen lotion. And skinhead, you about to get a melanoma on the top of your cranium. You better get a ball cap or something, Yeah, if you want to, you can say that's superior if you want. I mean, you got a real weird notion of superiority. But anyway, Aside from that, I don't have to respect that belief. And there are many white nationalists who really believe that just white skin alone, they won the testicle lottery. You know, they were born white. And so they really, really believe that that makes them superior. Do I have to respect that belief? No. And what if somebody has a neutral belief? I don't know what that is. Because if your beliefs don't impact your behavior, then they're not really beliefs, right? So there's really no such thing as a neutral belief. But even, let's say, I just believe that we are spiritual beings. Now, that might seem innocuous, but why do I have to respect that? Let me tell you something that I truly and heartily believe with all my heart. I believe that the Imperial Guard of the Warhammer 40K fantasy universe is the best regiment, the best military, and the best race. I don't like the Eldar. There's their aesthetics. I like the Tau, but, you know, the orcs are fun, but I just like the regiment and the formation and the aesthetics of the Emperor, the Imperium of man. I believe that with all my heart. Do you have to respect that? No. But at least I know it's pure fiction, it's fantasy, it's a distraction from the real world. You know, there's something that I'm into, Warhammer 40K universe and 40K lore. That's just something I do to entertain myself. You know, some of y'all pop bottles with models and dump champagne on their heads. I like 40K strategy gaming. I don't play it as much as I would like to, but when the revolution comes, maybe there'll be extra time. But I believe that with my heart, with everything that I am. Ask my sons who I play with. And they were like, oh, why in the world do you use the Imperial men? They suck. And I'm like, yes, they are weak individually, but when you amass them together, it validates what I believe in the real world. See, you can even have fancy beliefs or fanciful beliefs and have it relate to the real world. The Imperium of man, as a civilization, is very weak individually. Like one Imperial soldier up against an orc, which are like these monster creatures, or an Eldar, which is like a futuristic space elf, or against the Necrons, which are like these automaton monsters. One of them against any one of the other soldiers is going to get obliterated. But if you amass them together and you properly coordinate, you give them proper artillery, you give them the proper support. And I'm like, wow, this is socialism in the arena of fantasy electronic gaming. I'm like, wow, I like that. So it has real world applications. But I know, no matter what, you will never see me walking down the street with an Imperium man patch trying to act like this stuff is real. So I know that there are folklores and parables and wisdom in the holy books. I'm not denying that. And there's information that can be gleaned from your religious beliefs that can be applicable to the real world, that either inform you on how to interact in the real world or validate what you believe about the real world. I do it too. You know, I've been reading comics and all that, and my favorite genre is science fiction and post-apocalyptic content. Marvel Comics, DC Comics, Image Comics, Dark Horse Comics, all that crap. The indie side labels, all that crap. But I know for a fact, I know what's real and I know what ain't real. And I'm willing to maintain that line. Even if sometimes there's bleed over. Like I said, I see things in the fantasy world that I think are applicable to the real world. Or I see things in the real world, like if I'm going to go and play Warhammer, Dawn of War against my sons, I know my older son, he goes for flash. He goes for big gun. Certain things he does in the real world that when we play this fantasy game, it's going to, in fact, and I can beat him because I know his personality, and his personality is reflected in this fictional world. How he interacts and sets it up. So yes, there is some interplay, but we gotta, as a people, especially a people under you've got to remain a tight, intimate, unbroken relationship with reality. Because white folks, they have the ability. They got nuclear bombs. They got aircraft carriers. They've got the ability. And that's what I ain't going to mention their money, because the money is based on their military might. This is a protection racket. You know, like the Europeans, white folks, the United Statesians, they walk into other countries like, hey, it's a real nice country you got here. Be ashamed if something should happen to it. To be ashamed And they force these other nations like to take their currency or to tie their currency. I mean, that ain't even my topic. I'm just saying they can mess around and depart from reality. They can really believe that this billionaire idiot is a religious savior that's been blessed, anointed by God to make America great again, and that he's going to make America great again by both lowering taxes and increasing spending. And it's just a lot of nonsense. But white folks can do that because guess what? When Trump collapses the economy, there might be another black politician that's going to come up with a tuxedo and tails and an apron and a right arm up with a tray. And it's like, let me fix it for you, master. Let me save. Obama saved the auto industry. Obama helped Wall Street to recover. Obama came in and shined the shoes of America and spit shined them. And now they're all clean. And now here's America back off to run in the mud right after Obama shined the shoes up. No respect. And what I'm saying is white folks can afford to depart from reality at their leisure. Now, eventually, it's going to get them in the wrong run. But right now, in 2017, the year of your Lord, we can't afford that. We can't afford to think that salvation is coming from anywhere but us. We can't afford to have any other analysis besides a strict political, economic, social, cultural analysis of the real world. We can't afford fantasy. Our children, our descendants, our ancestors cannot afford fantasy. And the one thing we cannot afford to make fantasy real. You know, like if you're Trump, you can throw money around. You can weekend in Mar-a-Lago and have your wife live in Trump Tower in New York, spending $2 million a day to defend and protect her and Barron Trump, that ugly woman and his ugly son. And that ugly man can live in Washington and have what they call now they're calling Mar-a-Lago the Winter White House. He can afford to blow it like that. But if you, a poor woman, a poor man, you got to watch your pennies. You got to be realistic about what you can and can't do and what you can and can't buy. You got to prioritize your bills. You got to be rational. You have to be careful. You have to be mindful. So I'm just saying it's like that on a personal economic level. It's the same way on a collective ideological level. We can't afford to wait on saviors. We can't afford, the Minister Farrakhan said, if Trump do wrong by us, God's going to punish him. No, God won't. And then you tell black folks that, and then they turn around and see Trump winning. Trump making more money. His sons are in Dubai right now signing off on big deals, the best deals. Trump, when Obama was a president, his personal wealth from 2008 to 2016 had increased over 1,700%. I didn't even know you could get up to 1,700%. And I took statistics at a master's degree level. And I didn't know you could get 1,700%, those numbers. Yeah, I know, but whatever. So imagine how Trump gonna do. So you tell black folks, if Trump does wrong by us, God is gonna punish him instead of giving a rational political assessment of the threats and opportunities presented by a Trump administration. You're telling black folks that God will punish him if he does wrong by us. When God ain't punished the people who did wrong by us 400 years ago. He's going to punish the folks doing wrong by us in 2017. Maybe another 1,000 years from now. But anyway, we can't afford that. We can't afford that kind of nonsensical thinking. That's all. So when I'm going in on religion, because there's greater implications to your personal beliefs. There are collective, multi-generational reverberating impacts of your own personal beliefs if your beliefs are delusional. But anyway, I better play some music before I lose every listener and supporter I've ever had. But I said it, and I stand by it. You listen to Bro Diallo Show, Q4 Radio, 8:05 in the AM. A wonderful, crisp, appropriately temperature day. I did want to talk about the climate apocalypse. But I wanted to wait. Maybe I should wait for King Dita, because King Dita got some good insights on the climate apocalypse. You know. So maybe I'll just warm y'all up. I'll whet y'all appetites. Get y'all all warmed up and soothed down. Then King Dita can come and penetrate you with the knowledge that he has amassed concerning our climate apocalypse. Who knows? I see now everybody like, yeah, you talk all that stuff, you need God. Anyway, let's take our music break, and then we'll come back with some more of the Bro Diallo Show. I sure enough appreciate you sticking with me on the show. Peace. Thank you for listening to the Bro Diallo Show live. We're going off the live feed, but the show will continue up until 9 a.m. So you can listen on 24.org. On the radio station, you can go directly to the 24 Radio Facebook page and listen there. Or you can find the show archived at diallo.com. All links are there. And you can call in the show, 312-985-7834. The number is also on the live feed. You can call up. Phones are open. Yes, the phones are open and ready for your input. Thanks for tuning in and listening. Peace.